Okay, once more around the track and we're done. Someone's at 100, the Goldfield consolidated, but there's a good chance that just paying out dividends is going to push things over 100. And I think everybody wants that. Nobody thinks, well, we'll see, but I don't think anybody thinks that they can not pay dividends and get a bonus overall. Let's see what happened. First player, very little to do. He ran his Goldfield consolidated, ran over for it, made a few bucks off that. Big deal, right? Second player over here did the same thing for Bullfrog. Pulled the cash in. Bonus for this guy again. He can't be talked out of it. The other option would have been Goldfield consolidated. The number 3 player ran it for Goldfield consolidated. He didn't want to do it for the red company because that is this guy's. And he thinks that guy's in the lead. Again, I'm not going to calculate all the values and see who the winner is before the time. I hate doing that. Let's go to the 4th player over here. He still had a wad of cash because he had run his blue train before. So this time he bought the Bullfrog Goldfield Railway, and he actually bought it outright. He bought the second share of it. So he ended up picking up control of it, of no value, but it's an extra certificate and it boosted the value of the certificates that are out there. This may be throwing money into a drain, but since he had already bought one, he had to buy another one, he felt, and it may be boosted its value. He may get an overall advantage. Helping this guy is not a problem. This guy's in a lot of trouble right now. Okay. Then we go over to the last player, I guess, which is over here. And he had very little to do. He boosted the Bullfrog because red is not going to be able to go above 50 bucks. If it survives, it's going to be at 50 bucks. If Bullfrog survives, it's sitting on 3, so it can get close. It can get up to 100. It can't go over it. All right. Well, I guess it's time to pull those tiles, huh? Let's see what we get with us deep digs. We get a -1, a -4 on Bullfrog, but it survives. Over here on Silver Peak, it gets +2 and a tile. I don't think the tile's going to matter. Let's give them that. Their income goes up. They're not going to be able to go above that when they pay out their dividends, but, you know. Gold center. Ooh, it gets a -2, which pulls it down, but it should be able to make that back off by paying the dividends out. Over here, Tonopah gets a 4, and it loses a tile. Tonopah is purple. It's up there, but it loses a tile off the deep dig stack. Okay, and now our last one is Goldfield consolidated. It survives. It goes up 2 bucks. Well, it can't go any higher, right? It's at 3. It can't get another one, so it doesn't go up any money, but it does get 2 more deep dig draws. So they still exist, and that's huge. He's got a stock that's going to hold. Game hasn't ended yet, though. We still have to pay out the income and then decide what we're doing with it. We'll see what happens. I think he wants to end his misery, but, you know, he may not push Goldfield over the edge. Now, here's where there's a problem. Decisions are made in banker order. I think that's just bullshit. And this is a condition where it clearly happens. I'm doing them in player order. Basically, the banker would go first and then around the table from him. And here, it's obvious, you know, this decision can't be made. It has to be player by player that's making it, and it shouldn't be in some fixed order. And throughout the game, this has been bugging me, and here it really clearly is obviously an advantage for the guy sitting to the left of the banker in a standard clockwise arrangement. Okay, so I'm going to make my decisions here as to what happens after paying out the income. Okay, well, after spinning around, the bank is broken in the sense that 2 of the things are definitely over 100. I didn't want to check. I don't know if you have to hit 100 or be over it. But either way, there's 2 definitely over 100. The orange can't go over. I'm not actually sure the Tonopah could either. Yeah, it's only at, oh, it's at 3. Yeah, it could not either. So it's down to 100 as well. A lot of cash has been paid out. Everybody paid out except for the Silver Peak. That's still got a debt on it. It's worthless. I can just remove that railroad and its shares from the game. And actually, if this was in the middle of play and this kind of thing happened, where a railroad went out of business, how can a railroad go out of business? I'm not sure that's possible. Yeah, so, but its value, its stock is valueless. The money on its stock couldn't be handed out. I'll leave that there and clean it up. I'm going to try to spreadsheet things, come back, talk a little bit about what happened here, but the decision, to a large part, was in this guy's hands. He held the Bullfrog Goldfield. He could have, and the Tonopah, assuming, I'm not sure, assuming that the end had to be over 100, which I'm not sure it did. It was his call. Let's see. Has to exceed 100. So yeah, so he made the choice to push forward. Now why? Well, he has one mine that would probably become valueless, and it's worth $100 a share. He's got 3 shares of it right now. He doesn't want that happening. He doesn't really feel like he's going to win, but if he's going to win, it's going to be now, not when this guy who has a couple of mines that aren't at the same value and doesn't have as many shares, the red. Well, what happened to the red? I just pulled that off instead of the red railroad. Shit. I think it's at 50. Okay, but it seemed like he had the advantage with the Tonopah, and it was worth pushing the Bullfrog over in a solvent state no matter what. So that was the decision that I made there, was chances are he would lose Tonopah otherwise now, and it turns out he would have. Would these others have all stood? You can't tell. I mean, it's possible that all the mines could have wiped out, and that would have been very bad for him, because he's holding, well, the Bullfrog he's holding pretty well, but he doesn't have railroad stocks. This guy has the railroad stocks, but he managed to fish them out. I think he's actually got a pretty good shot when I look at his holdings. The Blue Railroad isn't in good shape. Silver Peak is worthless, like I said. I can just take that out of here. And, but his other shares look kind of potent. I mean, he's got 2 shares over 100 there. He's got 5 shares over 100. He's got to be doing pretty well. The blue's not too hot, but neither's the red. And the yellow ain't that great either, to tell you the truth, comparatively. So this guy's only sitting on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shares total. This guy's sitting on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shares. And he's got higher valued ones. I'm betting that he gets the win here. I'll spreadsheet it out and show you where the final standings are. Everyone else felt pretty clearly that they're behind. It's hard to tell though. I mean, nah, they just didn't have the money. They invested money in stocks, and they didn't. Nobody was sitting there with a wad of like a couple $100,000, which is what the difference is going to really be. So it's very clear this guy was doing okay, and his mines collapsed on him, and that ruined him. And it's that simple. There's that much luck in the game, I think. This guy had his struggles with his railroads and deserves what he got. This guy lost an important mine again, I think. I think he had one up now. No, it was this guy who had the 2 mines that went under, and one of which he had just bought 2 shares of. Just really cut his ability to expand at that sort of last gasp. He probably wasn't one of the leaders. I would say these guys were still in the lead, but he was up there with them and not really challenged. And now what has he got? He's got a couple of shares of a railroad. That is good. And the Goldfield, which is very good. And then a piece of garbage. Alright, I'll be back. Well, in the end, it ended up being a fairly close game between the top 2, actually. Number 4 guy ended up with $954. Number 3 guy, $974. In both cases, these are people who did not start off with a railroad. They concentrated on making their money off their mines. And while this guy lost his second mine, he still was able to pull in a lot of that early money off the mines, while everyone else who had money invested in railroads is losing money towards them. I think that's the key element here, actually. Buying a railroad later, as he did with the Blue Railroad, as an opportunity was helpful. But the people who invested heavily in railways early on didn't do so well. One of the first railways was the red one. That ended up kind of stagnating and actually ended up crashing and being worth no money. On the other hand, certainly the Bullfrog Goldfield was a successful railroad, but it's not where you want to put your money early on. And that was my first impression was, hey, I want mines. Mines make money, right? But I figured there would probably be a balance between the two. And if you were in this position where you could build this, now this thing really did kind of fail. But other railroads, the Green Railroad, was very, very powerful looking early in the game. Now, who had that? I think that was this guy's, wasn't it? One of these two had the Green Railroad, didn't they? No, because they would have shares of it still. It didn't go out of business. It was in his hands the whole game. That was his big effort, really. He did have the Blue Company, and he ended up spending a lot of money on another company that went under. How much did that cost him? I don't know. I really don't know. This guy lost a share of the Manhattan mine, which might have been the difference between him winning and this guy winning. Others, though, if you mismanaged your railroad, it's clear it's not going to work. But even so, even a well-managed railroad like that green one, it never made money, you know? It did not make a penny for him in cash that he could take to buy more shares, to do whatever he wanted with, until towards the end of the game. And the game's about making money. You know, the railways don't make money. They may be useful. They may help your mines. But I don't think they're a tactic in and of themselves. And I had people who were trying to make it big on the railways, but it just doesn't work. Is that a reason to dislike the game? I don't think so. But it is something that maybe needed a little bit more understanding. Now, let me look at the player suggestion here. Buildings are critical. Purchase a building money. Money can be saved by laying track first to reduce the price of buildings. Recognize that railroads are long-term investments that run the risk of not becoming solvent. So yeah, well, it sounds like railroads, the way it's worded in the rules and the player hints, it sounds like railroads are a way to make your capital. I don't think they are. I think they're the second tier. You buy the mines first, no matter what. They're going to make you the money. There's no way to get a good railroad running and ever make any cash off of it. It can help your mines, but running it as an independent business just doesn't work. And that's kind of a shame. I think there should be a little bit, and maybe I'm playing it wrong. It's my first look, obviously. But my feeling is I think there should be a little bit more variance there. I'll come back and talk about this in a bit. I don't know, maybe tomorrow actually, because it's late and I need to clean up. But I've got a definite couple of gripes about this one. It's a pretty game, but I don't know.